Hi guys, welcome to Sourcing Classes. This is Hima Hegde presenting before you the Anthropological News Diary for the week. To begin with, let us look at the topics under light for the week. The week as in 31st of May to 5th of June. So here we have archaeology and the subtopics of the same, followed by the tribal affairs, the physical or the biological anthropology, socio-cultural anthropology, and anthropologists in news. The detailed elaboration of each of these subtopics mentioned here will be found in the A&D document, that is, the Anthropology News Diary document that is being uploaded on a regular basis on the official Sourcing Classes website www.sourcingclasses.com. Kindly pay a visit. So here we have the topics under light for today. Firstly, genetic engineering, Peking Man, Jane Goodall, tribal development. So to begin with, we have genetic engineering. So what is genetic engineering? It is basically the artificial manipulation, modification and recombination of DNA or other nucleic acid molecules in order to modify an organism or a population of organisms. Now the term genetic engineering initially referred to various techniques used for the modification or the manipulation of organisms through the processes of heredity and reproduction. However, in the latter part of the 20th century, the term came to be referred specifically to the methods of recombinant DNA technology or DNA or gene cloning. Cloning is basically making the exact copy of something. So it came to be referred to as that, in which the DNA molecules from two or more sources are combined either within cells or in vitro and are then inserted into the host organisms in which they are able to propagate. Now most recombinant DNA technology involves the insertion of foreign genes into something called as plasmids of common laboratory strains of bacteria. Now what exactly is plasmids? Plasmids are nothing but small rings of DNA. They are DNA rings, tiny DNA rings. They are not a part of the bacteria's chromosome. Chromosome is nothing but the main repository of the organism's genetic information. Nonetheless, they are capable of directing protein synthesis, and like chromosomal DNA, they are reproduced and passed on to the bacterium's progeny. Thus, by incorporating the foreign DNA, like for example a mammalian gene into a bacterium, researchers can obtain an almost limitless number of copies of inserted gene. Furthermore, if the inserted gene is operative, then if it directs protein synthesis, the modified bacterium will produce the protein as required by the bacterium and as specified. And these days the gene editing technology is popularly coming up, and we have one of the famous technologies, that is the CRISPR-Cas9. Moving on, we have the Peking Man. So first let me tell you the context. The archaeological discovery at the Zhoukoudian site, that is approximately 50 kilometers around Beijing, proves that Homo erectus and Homo sapiens one inhabited the land. So let us come to the highlights of it. The site is a cave system. This site, which is specified, this Zhoukoudian site, is a cave system discovered by Swedish geologist Johan Andersson and Austrian paleontologist Otto Zadansky. Zadansky found two dental remains there, which inspired later archaeological investigation. Now what is more important to note here is, after years of excavation, a skull cap was unearthed by a Chinese archaeologist P. Wenzhong. Now according to the scientific research, the skull cap belonged to a Homo erectus and it came to be known as Peking Man. The Homo erectus, which came to be known as Peking Man. Another 4 skull caps were found at the site in the following years, along with the teeth, bones, stone artifacts, traces of fire, and mammal fossils. Evidence suggests that these fossils could be traced back to between 7 to 2 lakh years ago. The skull of the Peking man is flat in profile and thicker than that of the modern human beings. As you can see, it is flat in profile, thicker than that of the modern human beings. Also, he has a small forehead, heavy brow ridges, an occipital torus, a wide nose protruding, and a protruding chinless jaw. Protruding as in something that is coming out. Chinless jaw. The experts assume that the cranial capacity of a Peking man would be somewhere around 1043 cubic centimeters. The Peking man site is listed as one of 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. One of the 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites in Beijing, along with the Great Wall of China, the Summer Palace, the Forbidden City, the Temple of Heaven, the Ming Tombs, and the Grand Canal. Hundreds of thousands of years after existence of Peking man, the site welcomed their new guests, that is a group of Homo sapiens dubbed Upper Cave Man. Upper Cave Man, enjoying a wider view, the sapiens lived in the cave rooms that were higher than those of the Peking man. Unfortunately, the original fossils of both Peking man and the Upper Cave Man were lost during the World War II. Concerning the turbulent environment, the cantonment government decided to ship the fossils to the United States for safekeeping. Moving on, we have Jane Goodall. So let us look at the context. Jane Goodall, the conservationist and renowned for her expertise on chimpanzees and her globe-spanning advocacy on the environmental causes, was named this year's winner of the prestigious Templeton Prize, honoring individuals whose life's work embodies a fusion of science and spirituality. So coming to the highlights, Jane Goodall is a British ethologist, that is one who studies the animal behavior, known for her exceptionally detailed and long-term research on chimpanzees of Gombe Stream National Park in Tanzania. In Africa, Jane Goodall began assisting the paleontologist and anthropologist Louis Leakey. Her association with Leakey led her eventually to her establishment in June 1960 of a camp in the Gombe Stream Game Reserve, that is to study the behavior of chimpanzees, to note the behavior of chimpanzees. Basically, in 1960, Jane Goodall pioneered the study of chimpanzees in the wild, showing the world how similar chimpanzee behavior is to that of the human beings, and helping to demonstrate the close evolutionary relationship of the two species. Over the years, Goodall was able to correct a number of misunderstandings about the chimpanzees. She found, for example, that the animals are omnivorous. The animals, that is chimpanzees, are omnivorous and not herbivore. I mean, they are not vegetarian. That they are capable of making and using tools. And in short, they have a set of hitherto recognized or unrecognized, complex and highly developed social behavior. She also acknowledged that in certain circumstances, such as food, sex or territory, or under the emotions of jealousy, fear or revenge, their behavior provoked as dark and troubling as that seen in the human beings. At the same time, chimpanzees often demonstrated mutual sharing, helping and compassionate nature. Mothers, children and siblings develop deep ties, often assisting each other throughout their lifetimes. Some primatologists have criticized Goodall's methods, especially her use of bananas in feeding stations to attract the chimps. They claim that the food causes higher level of aggression and conflict, distorting the normal behavior. But other research has shown similar level of conflict without feeding station. She summarized her years of observation in The Chimpanzees of Gombe, Patterns of Behavior, 1986. Goodall continued to write and lecture about environmental and conservation issues in early 21st century. In 2002, she became a UN messenger of peace. Moving on, we have the last topic, that is the tribal development. Coming to the context, the Van Dhan program is bridging the livelihood gap by boosting entrepreneurship in tribal clusters through countrywide Van Dhan Vikas Kendra clusters. So now let us look at the highlights of it. The scheduled tribes constitute over 8% of our national population. While half of these tribal folk live outside the tribal areas, the remaining still live in their native habitat. Most of these are forest dwellers. In exact terms, around 5 crore tribals live in their native environment. The guiding principle of the government's economic development policy is inclusive development or Sabka Vikas. Inclusive development, also known as Sabka Vikas. While much has been done for the ST, members who have migrated to the mainstream, the livelihood issues of the tribes folk who have chosen to stay in the traditional forest habitats are yet to be adequately addressed. Evidently, there is an absence of a comprehensive plan to promote income generating entrepreneurial activity. Van Dhan seeks to address this gap. Non-timber forest producers, commonly called as the MFP, that is minor forest producers, have been called as Van Dhan, meaning one ka dhan, and it rightfully belongs to the tribes residing in the forest. MFPs have major importance in the economy of the tribal societies. MFPs are a major raw material for the corporations in food, pharmaceuticals and the MFCG industries. Annually, around 2 lakh crores worth of MFP in raw form is gathered by the tribal and traded in weekly hard bazaars. However, the income occurring to tribal gatherers in the above business is far below what may be called fair. They are getting 20% of this amount, whereas they deserve at least 60% of the total amount. If MFP and market-led allied activities are strengthened, tribals can become prosperous in their own habitat in the shortest time span. MFP provides the best livelihood opportunities in tribal areas, as the tribals have natural traditional skills and knowledge regarding the forest products. 2 mega MFP projects in Jagdalpur, Chhattisgarh, Raigad and Maharashtra of the 100 such units planned for the country are at advanced stages of completion. The enterprise approach under the mission will provide economies of the scale and help in fostering tribal entrepreneurship on a large scale, with participation of NGOs, creating tribal owned and tribal managed production units, along with leveraging all existing funds and resource pools. So that's about it for today's session. Hope you found it informative. Thank you.